So here we have the wonderful Judith, who is now an equality, diversity and inclusion. I say now, you have always been a specialist within your field, but for the purposes of today, let's clarify your title, which is?
Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Lead.
Yes, within a large NHS community trust.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
I recently started that role, so yes, it's a little bit of a hop and a skip.
Yes. And for the purposes of today, I really just want to thank you for sharing your experience on the expert mentorship with me. And people who are watching might not know much about me, what I do. And I'd really love us to just have a quick chat about the experience that you've had so that people watching can actually see what goes into the process of applying and interviewing and going for your dream position. So firstly, do you mind sharing with us what a dream job kind of means to you?
My dream job would be one where I'm able to express my values, core values, I would say, that chime with my area of interest, which is people and culture. And if I'm in a role where I'm able to deliver all of me, my values and my expertise and my professionalism, that would be my ideal job.
Yeah. So for you, dream job, it's really important that the environment is right so that you can feel free to express who you are. So when I'm saying within some of the content and all of my videos and things, and I'm talking about my approaches, and I'm saying bring all of you to the application to interview. Don't be afraid of being kind of your true authentic self. Do you feel like that's the version of you that you bring to
I do now, having worked with you, Judy, over the course of the last 6 months or so. I feel more confident in expressing that part of me, particularly when, in public sector predominantly, you have to do a supporting statement. And I found that in my supporting statement, it was very clinical, very transactional, rather than bringing who I am to the table. And I'd have to say, through working with you, I've been able to find my authentic self. And what I mean by that is, when I first started out in the world of work, I didn't have any issue in putting all of me out there in my supporting statement or my cover letter, and actually this is who I am. And then working over the course of the last 20 years or so, I found that part of me has been jaded, and I've been very much boxed in, and found that I wasn't able to express who I am and what I value and what I'm seeking out of being employed or working with people. So as I said, working with you, I was able to not be afraid of expressing me and valuing who I am and knowing that adds value to an organisation and to outcomes.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to share that, you're in a senior leadership position. So the impact of what you do filters out across a whole organisation. Your approaches, your perspectives, your specialism, the way that you do things is going to have a direct impact on other people. And this is why I've loved the process of working with you, because you are what I consider to be the leaders that people need now, especially with what's going on in the world, in society. There's so many poor managers, and it's those managers, that leadership that stifles people.
Absolutely.
That stops you from wanting to be, your authentic self. So the fact that you are in that position is going to have a huge impact. What is it that you want to be able to do in your new role?
Well, my new role is an extension of who I am, and a lot of what you've been saying resonates. I've worked in organizations and with people and, you know, in a management structure that was very stifling, that didn't live and breathe the values that we espouse. So if it says it on the tin, I expect to see it when I open the tin. And I found that many of those who I worked with and had to report to didn't actually live and breathe those values. And I want to be always an authentic leader, someone who leads with credibility, someone who, if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. And conversely, if I'm not able to do it, I will also say that. Not being afraid of being open, honest, and transparent authentically. I'm not going to bash anyone, but I actually want to be the type of person that if you're coming to Judith, you're getting all of me.
Yeah.
And the values that I want to see, I'm going to leading them myself.
Yeah.
And if I get it wrong, then I'll say I've got it wrong. So I want to work in and with people who are not afraid to be that open and honest and transparent, because people get that. What they also get is when someone is saying one thing, doing another, and living completely different. And that's not the type of person I am. So any environment or any role or any contract that I take on through consultancy, then I'm expecting to be able to convey that to my clients, to those who I work with. Absolutely, if you're for that, then we can do work together.
Yeah.
You know, and conversely, if you're not, we can do the transactional stuff, but you won't get the best of me, and you certainly won't get the best for your organisation taking advantage.
They're very, very lucky to have you. So, you know how the fact that you're in the position that you are demonstrates that it's not a question that you didn't have the skills, the experience, the absolute, you know, you was the full package. But why was it that you sought my services in the first place, like in terms of what you felt you needed at the time when you was made that decision to apply for, you know, this dream position?
I have been applying for roles, and I found that while I was getting interviewed, I wasn't being successful at interview. And, you know, hearing, well, you didn't quite, or someone just, it actually didn't help me. I want to know and understand, what is it that I did or did not bring to that interview that allowed you to make the decision to go with somebody else rather than me? So I wanted to peel back some of those layers, and also I'd experienced just recent to that a period of following redundancy. So I was out of work, and I thought I want to actually focus on me and who and what I want to deliver to the world. You know, not just through, you know, being employed by someone, but what do I want to bring and give back? So working with you, Judy, allowed me to do bits of both of those. So yes, I had the day job, but I also wanted to understand how I package myself, my skill sets, and my delivery to help others to achieve what they need to achieve. So at that period, it was a long list of qualifications, like very many Black people, very overqualified, but very underemployed. So I wanted to reverse that trend for me, and actually actualize. You know, we learn in psychology about self-actualization. I wanted to be on that journey to self-actualization. So in order to do that, I needed to unpick some of the, I won't say tried and tested, but some of the stale bits about my presentation, how I present myself, how I present my skill set, how I show up. I wanted to really honestly uncover and discover who I am, and be able to, without any hesitance, put that down on paper and live by it and stand by it.
Yeah.
I just needed to learn the techniques of you know, how do I tell my story without reverting to the tick boxy stuff, which, you know, on reflection, I had been doing when I go to interviews or went to interviews. So show up with my values and not be apologetic about that.
Yeah. And to do that, we firstly started with all the personal branding stuff and understanding your values and what you represent. I absolutely love doing that with you.
That was a bit uncomfortable because like, oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
We don't really get to do it in, you know, adult life, to actually have like that stock take of like, who am I, and like, where am I going, and what do I represent, and what is my bottom line? That whole process can feel a little bit like it's not the normal thing to do.
It's not the norm, but we hear all the time, you know, show up with your true authentic self, and you know, what do you bring to the table? And often the way in which we're permitted to do that is in a very, you know, boxy way. Because in my own experience, I suppose it's because of the types of organizations I choose to work in and work with. So I didn't fit that mold, and I wanted to be able to be me, fill a niche, but actually require something of the organization. That if you're for this, we can work together. If you're not, I'm happy for you to say we're not, and I will seek my outlet elsewhere. And I found that in the interviews that I did take, I think I had 2 interviews after I'd worked with you, and it was really empowering to be able to say that in interview and not feel like I was beholden to, you know, these people want me, they don't want me. Actually, if you want me, fantastic, and we can work together, but if you don't, that's equally fantastic. I will take my skill sets elsewhere. So that was really very empowering, and I know that I've now given myself permission to be that open and free. So when I take my next consultancies, because that's the direction I'm heading in, it will be, you know, we can work together if you're for this. If you're not, then that's okay. Maybe I can refer you to someone else who fits your niche. But where I'm heading is about that whole transformational approach. I talk about strategic implementation as part of my branding because that's who I am. I didn't have a name for it before, but working with you has enabled me to draw that out. What does it actually mean when I'm delivering it? So I know what it means in my thoughts. I know what it means, and everybody else should know what that means. But I realize that not everyone appreciates or recognizes what strategic implementation is. And so for me, that is seeing that lofty ideal and being able to track it right back to operational delivery and every step in between. So what does it look like at every stage? And working with you, as I said, that's allowed me to be more concrete in sharing what that looks like to others who may not have an appreciation of what strategic implementation is. So the technique that you used around storytelling, that was really helpful for me, because often what I found is that when I was asked to interview, tell me a time when we did, I'd miss out the punchline, you know, the bit that says I did it and this was the difference. So working with you around how do I ensure that I share that information up front and almost work backwards towards that outcome. So the outcome was this is the difference that it made. Okay, but these are the steps and stages that I followed in order to achieve that. So that for me has been really helpful, because I am an introvert. So I will, you know, underplay and undersell myself. But working with you has enabled me to put up front, these are my achievements, this is what difference it's made, and then working backwards from that. That's been exceptionally helpful for me.
And for anybody who doesn't know, to have got to that stage of you being able to present so eloquently at interview, we had to go through your experience with a fine-tooth comb and pull out the meaning and all the punchlines, and, you know, really tease it out and get it into like a concise way. And I actually loved that process, because it's in that process that you find out all these golden nuggets of like little corkers that you've been sat on all this time that you wouldn't have necessarily have mentioned or thought was relevant. That process actually took a while, didn't it? Because you had so much stuff. However, that was the end result, because you get those punchlines and be able to vocalize what your unique perspective is. But, you know, we had LinkedIn profile, we had cover letters, supporting statements, the whole shebang.
But you know what, it's been absolutely wonderful, because I am working with business coach on my consultancy, and I was able to signpost them to my LinkedIn profile, which you and I have worked on to update. And you know, her response was, you know, fantastic, A1. So, you know, thank you to you, Judy, for helping me to refresh that, because I was kind of, you know, it's there, have a look if you want to. Yeah. So having that refreshed and being punchier around my achievements and who I am and what I stand for, you know, it's still being fantastic stead. I don't need to revisit that for a little while, because it's currently, it's up to date, and it's getting hits. So
yeah. Did you mention you are getting like kind of headhunted or sourced?
I have, yes, yeah, quite a few people, and it's quite embarrassing. I can't do that, thank you, I'm not looking for anything at the minute. But it's nice to have the option to be able to say thank you but not yet. I'm not saying thank you now, I'm saying thank you but not yet, and let me explore that another time with you. But making those connections has been absolutely invaluable, and being able to contribute to the wider agendas. So my specialism is around equality, diversity and inclusion. But also coupled with that is quality. And many organizations are trying to understand, what does quality look like? And I describe quality and equality as being along the, you know, a continuum. They are either end of a spectrum, or, you know, they meet at some point. But you cannot have good equality without good quality, and you cannot have good quality without equality. So you know, the work that you did with me allowed me to be able to articulate that better. And, you know, the last role that the current role that I'm in, literally I was able to, in a very short time, 4 bullet points, have a conversation, but be confident in being, not having to do the reams and reams of stuff that I thought that I had to do before, because my experience is wide and vast and deep. I felt that I had to tell you everything, but by telling you everything, I didn't tell you enough, or didn't tell you the important things. So, you know, feeling comfortable to be able to go with, you know, fewer but more significant interventions that I've done, I think has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, well, it's been an like absolutely amazing process. I'm so glad that you can have the environment and the impact that you knew was possible. All you needed was kind of like that outlet, and for somebody, well, not somebody, but an organization that you're truly aligned to recognize that they are gaining by trusting in your approaches. And the fact that you've got that opportunity now to just run with it, it's because you're in the NHS, you know, it's the staff, it's the real patients that are going to benefit from, and that's what ultimately you want. It's not just a personal thing about, oh, I want to be in my dream job. You're very much about impact for real people.
Yeah, because I always say there's a real person at the end of every decision. And often that is forgotten. So when we get policies, or we receive, you know, interventions that we have to implement that are passed down by the government, often the person at the end of the process is the last thing on someone's mind. And I always want to bring it back to that. Okay, so I'm doing this, we're being asked to do X, Y, and Z. How is that going to impact the individual who ultimately is at the receiving end of it? Be it a patient, be it a service user, a member of the community, there are human beings at the end of every decision. And I want to always be able to not only articulate it for me, but bring others into that appreciation and recognition that it's not just a tick box, there's a person who benefits by what you do and how you do it. So that's it.
Hence why you are the leader of the future that we need right now. There needs to be more people that share that approach. And I hope that anyone who's watching who's going for a senior leadership position realize that this is kind of what it takes. You gotta know, you've got to trust in your perspectives, trust in your process, and also have that desire and that real passion to want to make a difference. And if it's there, it's just a question of unlocking it and giving yourself permission to show it. And
Absolutely.
you know, you've just proved that trusting and giving yourself permission to do that has the effect of you get, you know, you get options, you get to choose what you're aligned to, and not take it personally if then they say no, not at this time. It's kind of like, well, wasn't the right position then, but you know, you put your end, and it wasn't to do with you, it wasn't to do with how you interviewed, it wasn't to do what you put in your application. It's just that it's the wrong fit then, if they can't recognize that, you know, because it's all about appreciation. So
I'm more comfortable with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Before we used to, because like many people, being quote unquote rejected or turned down was something that you, and as I thought, I actually can do this job standing on my head because I've been doing it. So what is it, quote unquote, about me that was not successful? While I appreciate that I have to do that reflection of did I bring or give my best at that opportunity, I'm less punishing of me and more open to what could I do differently next time, rather than internalizing it and making it about me or my lack of. Actually, as you say, it just wasn't the right fit, just not the right time, or, you know, genuinely there was someone who brought something different and they wanted to you know, choose or go in that direction. So I'm less punishing of myself. So that's really helpful.
I think that is one of the biggest things that I personally do what I do, why I do what I do, because I always say I want to help people apply an interview with more confidence and resilience, more determination, and not be afraid of their ambition. And the confidence and the resilience, what I'm talking about is that being able to feel powerful at presenting yourself, giving yourself, but then not taking it, letting it overpower you to the point that then you start second guessing your abilities, and then it affects future applications and interviews. It's if I can help people do anything, it's that, to believe in themselves, to have the confidence, but the resilience to almost stand strong in the process, because it's emotionally draining applying for. You have to put yourself out there, you have to be vulnerable. Then you've got somebody who probably, you think to yourself, why are you in the position that you are? And you're the one that's questioning me when you don't live by your own. So it's a minefield out there. But if you've got the tools and the techniques to kind of stand strong and believe in yourself, then I feel like I've done something right. So it really has been an amazing process, and I've just loved every minute of it.
Thank you. And I also have to say, it's because you are you, Judy, that's made this process a positive one for me. Your kindness and your compassion and how you actually worked with me made an absolute difference. It just brought a level of dignity and humanity to what I was doing, and it wasn't just about a transactional thing for you. I actually felt that you wanted me to win, and that made a difference.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's true. I do want you to win, and thank you. Okay, well, I know that you are like your consultancy business is going to fly, you're going to be amazing, and I will be in touch, you know, like we've got this relationship now, so like, I'm going to be following you and hoping that people who are going into leadership positions do just kind of connect with you or check you out, because what you say is so spot on in terms of what needs to change within organizations. And this isn't just NHS, this is private sector, in corporate, whatever sector. This is what needs to happen if you want to really see impact and be able to lead with authenticity. So upwards and upwards.
Absolutely. We'll look out for JC Consultancy Limited. That's me.
So impressed. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy.
No